Hey, what's going on, everyone? Today we're talking CLIFFS stock, ticker symbol CLF. As a disclaimer, this is not investment advice. This is just a research video that I put together meant to be educational as well as entertaining. I'm going to put you into a few different news clippings and articles surrounding the company. We're going to hear from the CEO, and then we're going to take a look at its stock. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Please enjoy.
Cleveland Cliffs has been a good steward of Minnesota's natural resources and invested in this state, its people, its operations, its economy. And today, our iron ore pellets enable steel in North America to be the most environmentally compliant in the world. Made right here in Minnesota, our pellets are driving clean steel making and American manufacturing. We're Cleveland Cliffs, and Minnesota, we're here to stay.
Steel production recovered as auto plants resumed operations, Cleveland Cliffs CEO says. This article is taken from CNBC's website. It came out Monday, September 28th. With everything that's going on, I think it's pretty important to understand how steel production can play a role in the recovery of our economy.
In our case, it's already happening. Cleveland Cliffs has a massive exposure to automotive, and that affected us very seriously during the second quarter. When automotive shut down in this country, we were forced to reduce our output because with AK Steel, it's all about automotive. This being said, Q3 has been a completely different story. We have been through a very profitable quarter and very strong in terms of the recovery of demand, particularly in automotive.
Automotive being strong, the economy overall is still relatively fragile. And after you did the deal with AK Steel, you did idle some plants and lay off several workers. You have said that this deal will create $150 million in synergies, which usually is a euphemism for layoffs. So I'm wondering what your outlook for the workforce of both companies is and how safe everyone's job is.
Yeah, this type of soft language is not what I do, is not how I act. In the case of the AK Steel, everything that happened was COVID related. The only plant that was shut down and for good and not coming back was the hot strip mill in Dearborn, and that was part of the plan because the hot strip mill has technical limitations. The synergies that we are achieving, by the way, we are achieving above the number that we committed to achieve with AK Steel, are coming from efficiencies, particularly renegotiation of service contracts with service providers, cost initiatives in terms of optimizing the flow of product through the different equipment that we have available to us. And with this acquisition of ArcelorMittal, it will be exactly the same. We are not in the business of letting people go. We are in the business of extracting efficiency and producing more using the same level of resources.
Lorenzo, there's lots of ways this M&A can kind of be framed, but one way I've seen it framed is that you're buying up your customers. Do your customers that you haven't bought have reason to be afraid?
There's not, Wilford, there's not a lot left. 90% of my legacy pellet business is now in-house. And it will be even more when we start up our HBI plant in Toledo, Ohio, what will be happening in the next few weeks. So our pellet business now is pretty much an internal business, except for very select deals with very good peer companies, steel mills that we respect and we appreciate having business with. There's nothing to be feared out there in the marketplace.
In my opinion, it's always nice to see interviews from CEOs of companies that I'm researching. It just puts my mind at ease to understand what's behind some of the moves that they're making. This article is taken from The Street. Cleveland Cliffs will buy the U.S. operations of Luxembourg-based ArcelorMittal. I'm not going to get into the rest of the article. We're just talking about Cleveland Cliffs here. So as I was going through this article, a few things stood out to me. Cleveland Cliffs has reached an agreement to buy the U.S. operations of Luxembourg-based steel and mining company ArcelorMittal for $1.4 billion in cash and stock. The transaction would make Cleveland-Cliffs the top flat-rolled steelmaker in North America. Under the deal, which is expected to close during the fourth quarter, Cleveland-Cliffs will pay nearly $900 million in stock and about $500 million in cash. Cleveland-Cliffs shares were rising 9.52% to $6.44 in pre-market trading on Monday. American depository receipts of ArcelorMittal jumped 8.52% to $13.12. So I just wanted to showcase this article and make it known that the transaction would make Cleveland-Cliffs the top flat-rolled steelmaker in North America, and the deal is to close in the fourth quarter. So these two topics that I just highlighted right here, for me as an investor, make a lot of sense to not only participate in any sort of activity regarding this company. So I see this as a great buying opportunity. From where the stock was at to where it's currently at, I definitely see it as a great buying opportunity. So this just where my head space is at, looking at some of the things that are going on with this company. So just wanted to showcase this with y'all. Let's move on to another article. This article is coming from Seeking Alpha. Cleveland-Cliffs big asset buy could combat Steelmageddon, analyst says. Bank of America's Timna Tanners has been warning investors of a coming Steelmageddon, a glut of new electric arc furnace-based sheet mills, and a flood of potential steel supply. But she says Cleveland-Cliffs could take a major stride in balancing the market if it shutters some of the assets obtained in its $1.4 billion acquisition of ArcelorMittal's U.S. holdings. Tanner says the deal could have a major impact on U.S. steel and the rest of the American steel industry, but it will depend on what Cleveland-Cliffs plans to do with the assets it acquires. We estimate 10 million to 14 million MT of sheet plate supply would need to balance the market, which could theoretically be addressed from the 17 million tons of sheet plate capacity Cliff would acquire, although not all of this capacity has been operating, Tanner's writes. Meanwhile, Cleveland-Cliffs could gain such a dominant position after its acquisition that the deal could get the attention of regulators, particularly given the company's leading exposure to the automotive industry. The deal will make Cleveland-Cliffs a new steel juggernaut, says B. Riley FBR analyst Lucas Pipes, who rates the stock as a buy with the street-high $10 price target. So, obviously, these analysts see that there is potential for Cleveland-Cliffs to become just an all-out juggernaut in this Steelmageddon. So, let's take a quick look at what makes, in my opinion, what makes this company attractive, the CEO. Now, he's not for everybody, I understand that, but he just, regardless of political views, regardless of anything like that, I try, if y'all know anything about me right now, it's that I really could care less about political affiliation or anything like that. I'm a capitalist. I'm trying to see things as money-making opportunities. So I like what this CEO has to say about certain things. And of course, he's not for everybody. So let's just take a quick look at a few different interviews that he does with some analysts and an interviewer. And you can just kind of see for yourself the type of mentality, the type of bravado that the CEO has. Let's take a quick look.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on CNBC. When you are not the CEO of Facebook, Google, or Tesla, being on CNBC at 3 p.m. is a big accomplishment. So thanks for having me.
So were you doing this as a publicity stunt?
No, absolutely not. I was doing my investors conference call. It's a company that has been in a remarkable turnaround. If you look at our stock performance in the last 2 years, we are up 100%, while, just to stay with the companies that I mentioned, Google is up only 37%, and Tesla is up 28%, and Facebook is up 17%. But the way the press treats a company like Cliffs, giving absolutely no publicity and only talking about these other companies, it looks like these guys make a lot of money and we don't. And it's exactly the opposite. We make money.
So my question to you is, why not communicate it in a more proactive and positive way like you just did? Are you really serving the best interest of your shareholders by bashing analysts and threatening that they're going to have to commit suicide?
First of all, I was not bashing any analyst. I was just mentioning a fact. And mentioning facts should not be punished. If there is bad math and bad math being used as reality, you got to call it out. But I can only communicate the way I'm communicating when you guys give me the opportunity to communicate the way I'm communicating. So again, thank you very much for having me live while the market is still hot. And thank you for to give a different day to investors in America today. Today we're talking about Cleveland Cliffs, not about talking about these other things.
We are, Lorenzo. You know, we did have one of your shareholders who is, you know, a contributor of ours, Jim Lebenthal, who basically said he would prefer if you didn't actually communicate that way on the call and perhaps not even participate on the call just because of those personal sentiments and actually seeming like you sort of wanted to get back either at the analysts personally or at people who are betting against your stock.
Look, first of all, I appreciate Jim being a shareholder of Cleveland Cliffs, and I also appreciate that he was trying to defend me. The only thing I did not appreciate is that he said I should not be in the call. That's my company. I'm a big shareholder of this company. I am the chairman, CEO of the company. I will be in all the calls, and I will act on behalf of my shareholders, and I will defend my shareholders like I did today, and I will continue to do.
You know, we've seen this kind of insult for analysts and short sellers with Elon Musk. You mentioned Tesla. It rarely reflects well on a company or on a stock price.
I don't speak for Elon Musk. I don't speak for Tesla. I was just mentioning the dismal performance of their stock price against my great performance of my stock price. And I don't believe I berated anyone. And if you got offense on behalf of the analyst, I could not hear from the analyst, even though I tried to make him speak on the call. And we would have an interaction. But he didn't speak. He didn't ask a question. But I was not berating him. I was just mentioning that he used bad math.
You said you are a disaster. You are an embarrassment to your parents.
You feel like you are? I was not talking to you. I was talking to him.
Right. So that's berating.
Okay. So that's your assessment. That's not mine.
So Lorenzo, have you heard from any of the other members of your board? Do they support this kind of approach?
I haven't heard from any other members of the board, but I certainly will because I have a board meeting on Monday. But I'm not concerned at all.
You know, stock is up 50% this year. Of course, the company had a very difficult time a couple of years ago. It's come back far from that, as you've mentioned. So what is so terrible about what anybody is saying about the company? It clearly has not impeded the market from recognizing the comeback in the company itself.
It will over time. It will over time. Things like today help a lot. We are all talking about Cleveland Cliffs. You just acknowledged that we are up 46%. You said 50. The number that I have here is 46%. So I'll take your 50 over my 46%. And again, it's a lot better than a lot of companies that people talk a lot about. And it's a great story. It's a great turnaround.
We're talking about it today, to be clear, because the stock is down more than 5%.
And because I'm talking about the entire story. You were trying to talk about today. I'm trying to talk about.
Well, it's not every day we hear a conference call like this.
Yeah, of course. CEOs are cookie-cutter people. They like to say the same things the same way for you guys to repeat the same things on air, and life is good. I'm different. You like it? Great. You don't like it? Great.
Well, that part of it, I would say, is refreshing.
Thank you.
But what math is wrong? That you were saying somebody's math is wrong? Is it just a different opinion about the valuation of the company?
It's not difference of opinion, and I respect the difference of opinion a lot. Difference of opinion is good, but bad math is bad. The consensus was calculated using 303 million shares. And the right number of shares is 310 million shares because we have a convert out. One of the book runners of the convert was Goldman Sachs. So it's totally unacceptable that a Goldman Sachs analyst has a bad mess and puts out a paper before the call, calling a miss when it's not a miss. Bad mess.
You can have all kinds of disagreements with the president and things that he does or does not do. But at the end of the day, as Americans, we need to recognize that we finally have a president that's really trying to push hard to make sure that things are put in the right spot, the right way. It's not a foregone conclusion that manufacturing needs to be done in China or in Thailand or in Malaysia. We can do here. We can enjoy the jobs that they are enjoying over there.
All right, so let's lastly take a look at this article from the Motley Fool, why Cleveland-Cliffs stock jumped 10% at the open today. This article came out yesterday, September 28th, 2020. What happened? Shares of miner and steelmaker Cleveland-Cliffs rose by around 10% in the first half hour of trading on Monday. Shares of fellow steelmaker ArcelorMittal rose nearly 10% as well. Both had given back their early gains by 10 a.m., with each up in the 7% range, and like their stocks, their stories are joined at the hip. So what? Over the weekend, Cleveland-Cliffs worked out a deal to buy virtually all of ArcelorMittal's U.S. steelmaking business at a cost of roughly $1.4 billion. It's a fairly sizable purchase for Cleveland-Cliffs with its approximately $2.5 billion market cap, which makes this company a mid-cap, just to interject. And I have done a little bit of research that indicates that mid-cap companies are somewhat of a smarter investment because they still have some room to go to large cap and mega cap. So I just wanted to throw that in there. And of course, not all mid-cap companies will eventually become mega cap companies, obviously. I'm just interjecting its market cap and where I see it and possibly where it can go. Although the acquisition won't include any debt from the U.S. operations of ArcelorMittal, Cleveland-Cliffs will assume pension and other liabilities, bringing the total value of the deal to about $3.3 billion. Cleveland-Cliffs will pay for the transaction with a mix of cash, $505 million, and preferred stock, $373 million, with the rest in common stock. In total, Cleveland-Cliffs will acquire 6 steel mills, 8 finishing facilities, 2 iron ore mining and pelletizing operations, and 3 coal operations. Investors obviously liked the deal for both Cleveland-Cliffs and ArcelorMittal as each rose on the news. ArcelorMittal is raising cash so it can reduce leverage, which means it is living up to a previously stated goal. Cleveland-Cliffs, meanwhile, is continuing its expansion into the steel sector, which it basically kicked off in earnest in early 2020 when it consummated the acquisition of struggling steelmaker AK Steel. Since scale is important in the steel space, it makes complete sense that Cleveland-Cliffs would want to add even more capacity. And since the company has long been one of the major North American iron ore producers, these acquisitions allow it to create a vertically integrated business. That, too, should be a net benefit. It's understandable that investors would be excited about the news. Now what? Cleveland-Cliffs believes this purchase will be accretive to earnings from the get-go, and that it will help the company to reduce its leverage. If both of those beliefs pan out, it will indeed be a well-played purchase. That said, steel is a highly cyclical industry, and long-term investors might want to wait on the sidelines to see how the integration process goes. Synergies sometimes won't pan out as expected, and a deep industry downturn could leave the company dealing with additional headwinds that it hadn't anticipated. All right, so let's just take a quick look at Cleveland-Cliffs stock at a few different time frames. Right here we see it today and closed 657. It's moving up in after hours. 5-day it jumped. And right here the month, it's still down for the month, but it's almost back to where it was at. And we see that over the 6-month term since the crash, it's made a nice run like I'm going to indicate in my trading view, I just wanted to showcase all of these different time frames, the year to date. And I wanted to really showcase, let me see, this 5 year. It was above 10. It never got to $15 in the past 5 years. And its max, it was over $100. For a while, it reached up to 111 at some point in time. So, I don't know. I'm just trying to see some good news with everything that's happened. Hopefully, these news articles and clippings will add to some momentum going with this company. So, I'm trying to be a Cleveland Cliffs bull here, and I know it's kind of hard to get excited about a mid cap company, iron ore company, but hey, this is part of the creativity with researching companies. All right, let's take a quick look at my trading view, my year-to-date trading window from Cleveland Cliffs. Going to highlight some levels of support. Down here, dropped to like the high twos. And we've had a nice little run. And with everything that happened thus far, showcasing all of the news highlights to where we're currently sitting at in the mid sixes, I see somewhat of a stair-stepping pattern of ascension. Definitely some consolidation, and I believe that if it can get to the 7s to 8s, I think that could establish a new level of support. So I'm going to highlight right about here a solid level of resistance. And again, like I said, if it can get above the $7 mark, and if it can start to make that a level of support, then I don't see why this stock can't take off and just grow. So I got in the crash. I don't know exactly what was attracting me to this company. I think it's the space. I think it's like this materials, this steel, this mining space that I believe infrastructure and some building that will be going on. And I really like the price action. I like the company's acquisitions thus far. So pretty much just some good news that's been going on. And of course, if things go south, anything can happen. Of course, y'all know this. Anything can happen with the stock. I'm not, again, this isn't investment advice. I am just highlighting some movement, just some obvious things here. So if it can trade above that $7 mark, then I see it definitely as a movement of ascension. So I'm going to leave it here. And, I think that it should do well. All right, real quick, folks, I wanted to show y'all my position of Cleveland Cliffs. I only have 2 shares, but I got them from my referrals. So literally cost me nothing to acquire these 2 shares, since my total return and my market value is where it's at $13. The stock is currently at $6.57. So anytime that I'd make a purchase, it's definitely going to, at this point in time, it's going to average in my $0 that it cost me to actually get into this. So I'm definitely considering making a bigger position, should I say, to my portfolio with Cleveland Cliffs. So again, I just wanted to showcase my position and my thought process as to why I made the research video about this company. Okay. All right. See y'all. All right. I'm going to leave it here. I want to thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. If there's another company or ETF that you would like to see me research, please just leave it in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to get to it as soon as possible. Please stay safe, and I will see y'all on the next one. All right, take care.